Today, I'm going to share with you how to break down arguments in LSAT logical reasoning. By the end of this video, you'll know how to find conclusions, identify evidence, and even challenge faulty reasoning. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, first, let's talk about what arguments are. Logical reasoning, of course, is 2/3 of the LSAT. It is essential that you understand how to analyze and break down arguments. On the LSAT, an argument has a pretty simple structure. It's a claim supported by evidence. For example, let's say we had an argument saying students should take study breaks because it helps them retain more information. The conclusion is that students should take study breaks. The evidence is that it helps them retain more information. The cool thing here in this argument is that we have the word because indicating evidence. So again, conclusion is the main claim or opinion, and the premises, aka the evidence, are the reasons supporting the conclusion. Let's talk about how to spot conclusions, since that is going to be your first priority when analyzing arguments. I already mentioned one keyword, because. You want to look for other keywords that could be, for example, therefore, thus, or so. For example, let's take another one. Exercise improves mental health, therefore, everyone should exercise daily. The word therefore here makes it clear that the conclusion is that everyone should exercise daily. The evidence was the first sentence that did not contain an indicator, exercise improves mental health. Now here's a pro tip for you. Opinion indicators like should or clearly also point to the conclusion because they'll signal judgment or recommendations. Now let's talk about how to identify the evidence. Once you've found the conclusion, the next thing you want to do is find the evidence. The evidence supports the conclusion and is going to be introduced by words like because, since, or after all. Here's an example. Since reading fiction improves empathy, schools should assign more fiction books. Now here, the claim after the word since is the evidence that reading fiction improves empathy. You're going to want to pay special attention to evidence keywords when you're analyzing arguments. So look for words like because, since, and other similar phrases that introduce supporting claims. Now let's look at some common argument structures, because the LSAT loves to test your understanding of how arguments are built. Here are two major patterns. You're going to have some arguments that are pretty straightforward, where the evidence leads directly to a conclusion. Here's an example. Cities should invest in public transit because it reduces pollution and traffic congestion. This is probably the kind of argument that you're more accustomed to hearing in everyday life. But you'll also see some cases where the conclusion is followed by the evidence in a disconnected way. So you'll hear, for example, public transit is the key to cleaner cities. Why? Because it reduces pollution and traffic congestion. So you're always going to want to ask, why should I believe that when you see a conclusion up front? There's got to be evidence somewhere supporting it. Of course, my examples here in this video are going to be pretty straightforward. You're going to have a lot more examples on the LSAT where there's filler information or counter premises separating the evidence from the conclusion, making it harder to see the relationship. Now, regardless of which type you're dealing with, once you have dissected the argument, you're going to want to test the argument and think like the opposing lawyer in a case. In other words, you're looking for the gap in the argument. So even if the evidence is true, you want to think to yourself, how could the conclusion still be wrong? What are any underlying assumptions that are potentially problematic or alternate explanations that could weaken the logic of this argument? So let's say the argument claims, since increasing park space in urban areas leads to lower stress levels, cities should prioritize building parks. You can challenge this argument by asking, could the stress reduction be caused by something else, like more outdoor exercise programs, or could prioritizing parks cause other issues like cutting funding for public schools? So it's okay to bring in new information, new outside information in the choices for, say, a strengthened question or a weakened question. And even if this were, say, a flaw question, you could say the argument failed to consider these possibilities. Now, if you'd like my help in analyzing arguments like this in the LSAT logical reasoning section on your journey to scoring a 170 or above on the LSAT, because of course, there's no reason to aim for anything less, my team and I would be glad to support you. At LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below to find out more, and to book a call with me and my team, we'd be glad to help you out. So let's recap and summarize here what you want to be doing when you're analyzing arguments in logical reasoning. First, you find the conclusion. Secondly, you find the evidence. Third, you want to think about the gap in the argument and challenge it by looking for assumptions and alternate explanations. That's it. It's a three-step process. What's the conclusion? What's the evidence? What's the gap? Again, if you'd like my help, check out the links below. And in the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.